again, my friends. Welcome back. This is session 5, flexibility. Today we're going to be working with the neuromuscular system. Now, first I want to note that we come from nature and we are really nothing without it. Because we don't come into this world, we come out of it like leaves from a tree. And so when we push ourselves beyond the boundaries of our capabilities, we start rushing around like ants in a hive. Then the subtle can be easily forgotten about in favor of the gross, the dynamic. We can forget about the natural baseline primal state of who and what we are and what we're made of. And so the myriad facets of the body-mind are all around us and within us, but generally go completely unremarked. And our neuromuscular system is composed of all these countless invisible little variations, just like our interactions and our thoughts and our emotions. All these things are being colored invisibly. Now, that being said, there are a few major categories of connective tissue, and the ones that we're most interested in here today is the fascial tissue. Now, when you stretch, what I want to note first is that what is being stretched is the fascial tissue. If you haven't heard of it, it's like a spiderweb network of tissue that runs throughout the bones and ligaments. People usually think they stretch their muscles, but muscle fibers can only really contract or tear, and tendons and ligaments only really connect muscle and bone, so it's not that you're stretching. It's the fascial tissue that we work with here. And it goes throughout your entire body, from toe to crown. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can I tell, or how do I know when I'm stretching my fascia and I'm not straining my muscles? Because usually, we think we're straining our muscles. We can tell this very easily when our awareness is in proper alignment with our body. And when you stretch your fascia, you will feel a more globalized tingling sensation that stretches across individual muscles and not localized within. And when you feel that, that means you are stretching your fascia. And when you feel tightness localized to a small part of your muscular system, to like a single part of your body, that usually means there's something else in play that you just simply haven't brought into your awareness yet. And the question then becomes, how do I stretch my fascia? How do I do it effectively and efficiently? And how do I not strain a muscle or tendon along the way? Now, unfortunately, some things need to be intuited, can't really be described readily with a series of bullet points. But the core of it is that usually where the pain is not usually where the problem is. And perhaps it's easiest to explain with an example. So when you do, say, a forward bend, you might find that the backs of your knees are tight or your hamstrings. If that's the case, the issue is most likely not with your backs of your legs. Again, you're focused on one part of your body. And the fascial tissue runs all the way up. We walk around in shoes all the time, so the fascial tissue in our feet is usually very tight. It's a good place to start. Sometimes we want to take a look at that. This tension is transmitted up to our calves, which increases the tension of the entire muscular system, all the way up to the hamstrings, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. So the real question, or the real answer to how to increase flexibility, something you can figure out entirely on your own. You don't need to ask somebody how to do it. You just notice where the tightness is and expand your perspective from that point. Narrow your gaze, expand your perspective. Narrow your gaze, expand your perspective. And you allow the sensation of stretching, my friend, to spread from that small center. And you will find, often in the most surprising locations, the source of it all. So narrow your gaze, expand your perspective. We'll go over this in the asana sequence, where we review some dynamic sequences, so stretches. But first, today's homework. I want you to watch this video and do this routine at least once more before moving on to the next lesson. And I usually recommend at least 2 days of working with the asana sequence before trying anything else, although a week or maybe even 2 or 3 might be more up your alley, depending on the nature of your condition. Now, use this time to really understand what you're capable of, to find the limits of your expression as you currently are. Because remember, just because you are a certain way right now does not mean that you will be that way tomorrow. In fact, that's the closest thing to an impossibility as exists. We only think it's the case because we think that change is hard and that it takes a long time. But my friend, nothing is further from the truth. The only thing that keeps us from everything we want right now is ourselves and our ability to see what it is that we want with enough clarity, enough wholehearted devotion to make it be. So just because you might not be able to do, let's say, one of these poses 100% perfectly with no problems whatsoever right now, this means nothing bad. It just knows, actually, it's a good thing. It means that you know where you are. And that's the most important part of the whole thing. Where you are right now. It's the most important thing to know on the battlefield. It's the most important thing to know in life. It's a good thing. Where you are right now. Because if you don't know where you are, how could you ever get anywhere else? Just be running around in circles, hoping things will get better. Now, if you like, you can tie this sequence in with the previous. It should be really great to kind of deepen into your experience with and awareness of your body. And along the way, remember to continue to observe your bodily sensations and any boundaries or limits, perhaps, that you've discovered. And by this time, you should be able to narrow down your awareness into, or the focus of your attention to, like a location of interest, or really anywhere in your body for that matter. If you feel that you don't really get it quite yet, don't worry. It'll come. It's guaranteed. All these things are these are new bits of information that you're putting together. And it'll all click. It'll drop in at some point, very soon. It's how the human body works. It's the same with everyone I've ever seen. It's the same with everyone I've ever worked with. It's the same with me. All these little disparate pieces of information, which seem true enough on their own. You could say, oh, okay, I get this, a little bit. It'll drop in, it'll all cohere at a certain point. It's like these little sculptures that you see in museums where there's these little strings with like little metallic pieces attached along them. And you're looking at this thing and they're all dangling out of the ceiling and you're like, what is this? You're looking at this. And then all of a sudden you get at the right angle and it's a face. It's like the picture just resolves out of chaos. There's this piece of order that just comes from alignment. Now you notice this happening when all of a sudden you have the alignment within yourself to notice that which has always been there. You've just been looking at it from 1,000 different angles, but you know something is there. So treat this reprogramming of your body-mind concept and everything that goes into this. Treat this with the same level of interest as looking at this sculpture hanging from the ceiling. Understanding that this sculpture is you. It's this piece of you. It's this part of you that you want to cultivate, that you want to facilitate, that you want to nourish and let grow. So cultivate the right environment for this in your life. Cultivate it with the right architecture, with the right routines and habits, and awareness, and bringing a certain level of awareness to the intent that you have along the way, that you have that's driving you forward. Have you been able to refine what it is that you want? Have you been able to ask the right questions? Now, these are things that you can start going into, and again, it's the same with everyone. It's how the human body-mind works. It drops in. You'll be able to start noticing the emotional frequencies associated with your body. You'll be able to start noticing the little pieces of your body that you hadn't really paid attention to before. And then you say, oh, something so small. This is why I couldn't bend over properly, or this is what I need to do in order to twist in the right way. While you're just working with your body, the mind itself is working as well, because they're all part of this interrelated whole. By focusing on one, by influencing one, you influence the other. So your mind and your attitudes about an injury or chronic pain, those two are being reshaped as you re-engage with all these little aspects of your body. So, with all this being said, let's get to it.